Hi, I'm Kristin, a librarian at Massanutten Regional Library. I wanted to welcome you to our first and maybe not last video tutorial for our craft kits that we've been putting together. I am the brains behind these craft kits. I've never really considered myself a crafty person until I decided that with the pandemic that myself and all the patrons needed something to occupy their hands and minds. So I started these craft kits in July, and here we are in December, and I just decided that this one might be a little easier to show you rather than telling you. So we are creating these adorable little sock gnomes, which I just love gnomes, so I'm super excited for this. If you didn't get a craft kit from the library, don't worry, this one's actually pretty easy to put together by yourself. All you'll need is 3 socks. We have one plain one to serve as the inside of his body. Then we have 2 different colors for his sweater and his hat. We'll also need a couple of small rubber bands to hold some things together. I provided a handful in the kits. You should only need 2, but they might break. You just need a little wooden ball for his nose, which you can get at any craft store. A jingle bell for his hat, if you so choose, which, again, this time of year, you should be able to find them anywhere. And then something to fill the inside. I'm going to be using rice today. I found that that seems to work the best. I did this guy with beans, but I think he gets a little squishy, so I prefer the rice. You can also use craft pellets, any kind of dried something that has this general consistency. Just keep in mind if you use a food product to make sure you store it in an airtight container so the mice don't go nibbling. We're also going to give you a little piece of craft fur to make his beard from, and some twine to tie the things together. Now at home, all that you will need besides your filling material is a pair of scissors and some glue. I prefer hot glue. I also tried this with craft glue and it works. You just have to have the patience to let it dry. And then you might want a pen to mark out the shape of your beard. But that is all we will need. So with that, let's get started with making our gnome. Okay, the first thing we want to do is take our white sock, which is our inside body sock, and we're going to cut it at about the heel. Now, since we're using a men's sock for the inside and women's socks for the outside, I'm actually going to cut it a little below the heel. But if you are using all one gender sock, you want to make sure you cut them at around the same spot, if that makes sense. So we're just going to cut across the sock here, like so. And you can just get rid of this extra ankle part because we do not need that. So next, to make things easier, I find that if you put your sock in a cup, you can start putting the rice in a little easier that way so it doesn't fall over. So just kind of put it on a cup like that. I've also tried it where I had a small bag of rice and clipped a small corner of the bag so I could just pour it in, which was easy too. But we're going to just start filling our gnome with rice here. Oh, look at me, I'm making a mess. So I'm really not sure how much each gnome takes, so this will be good because I can actually measure. Honestly, it's as much as you want if you want him to be a skinny gnome or a really fat gnome. All right, so that was about 1.5 cups. So now we're getting a little tight in here. So now I'm going to pull him out of my cup and get that out of the way. Just kind of bump him down a little, so see he has plenty more room in there. And if you spill rice all over, that's just part of the crafting life, okay? But don't forget to clean up after yourself. All right. So you can kind of twist him to see how fat he's going to be. Yeah, I just like this rice better. You can compare my 2 guys together. He just has a firmer body there. I prefer a firmer body gnome, I guess. I'm going to give him a little bit more, I think. So I think that was that 1.5 cups, 2 cups, somewhere in there. All right, I think that'll do it for me. Yeah, it's a good shape. So then you're just going to twist your sock together at the top, take one of your small rubber bands, and go around a couple times. So we're also going to tie over top of this with twine because, rubber bands can disintegrate over time. This is just easier to hold it together when you only have 2 hands doing this. So just enough to hold him steady there. Actually, I might have wanted a little more rice, but that's okay. All right, so then just cut off a little bit of your twine. You really don't need that much. And just tie a little knot around the top just because the twine will not disintegrate over time like the rubber band will. Hot tip for you. Okay. Maybe cut a longer piece so it's easier to tie. I like to conserve materials. Okay, now we're gonna lay our gnome down like so and take our little nose and glue it about 2/3 of the way up. So you're gonna, glue it here, and then his sweater's gonna come up to here and his hat's gonna come down to here. So just however high you want his little face to be is where you're gonna glue it. Like I said, I'm using hot glue just because I love hot glue and it dries faster. Ew, that's a yucky little chunk there. You can also use craft glue. You just have to give it a minute to dry because it does not dry as fast as hot glue does. All right, and let me pick the glue off my hands because I am so good at that. Okay, so my nose is all secure. Next, you want to decide which color you want for his sweater and which you want for his hat. So I really liked the plain sweater with the striped hat because when you do the striped hat, you're going to tie it here, and so it'll get a little red pom-pom. So that's really cute. Now, if you're putting this together on your own at home, you can look for any kind of socks with whatever patterns you like. If you have your football team you want to support and make a little football gnome, you can do that. Endless possibilities. So I'm going to do a red sweater. So again, we're just going to cut right at the heel, maybe. You should have good sharp scissors. These have cut way too many things and are not very sharp. There we go. So this is his little sweater, and you're just gonna pull it on over top of his body like so. Now, you don't need to use any glue to secure this, but if you really want to, you can put a few dots of glue just to, make sure it stays up and doesn't sag. Nothing worse than a gnome with saggy clothes, but you really don't need to do that. Okay. Ta-da! All right, let's go ahead and do his hat next, I think. It doesn't really matter at this point. You could do his hat or his beard. I'm gonna go ahead and do his hat because I think the beard's so cute and I'll save it for last. So same thing with this sock. You're gonna cut it right about the heel. I'm actually gonna cut it right below the red so I don't get any weird red on the bottom of his hat. Okay, and now this is where we get real clever. Cut off a little bit of this sock, just, however much you think will work. We're basically just using this for scrap material at this point. These scissors are awful. All right. So I've just got, oops, the elastic. Just got like a little scrap of fabric here, and I'm gonna ball it up and put it up here in the top of his hat to help make that little pom-pom. So that gives it a nice little shape. And then just like we did with the top of the body, we're gonna take one of our rubber bands, get it around there a couple times, maybe 3. Oh, look at how cute that is. And then once again, just trim, well, actually, let's trim a little bit a longer twine this time. And then we will string our jingle bell onto that and tie that onto the top of our hat. Oh, this isn't even the first one I've made, and I just still think this is so cute. All right, tie that on there good. And then I'll just trim the ends off here. Perfect. All right, and look at our cute little hat. Then all we gotta do is pull that over his little head. All right. And once again, you don't have to glue, but if it makes you feel better that your hat won't slide anywhere, just stick a little bit of glue. I'm using hot glue, but you can use craft glue. You just need patience because it takes longer to dry. So those 3 little dots should do it. So now we have a little adolescent gnome, but he needs a beard. So this is probably the trickiest part here. So we have this faux fur, which if you didn't get a kit from the library, you can get at most craft stores. I'm going to trace on the back, I find it easier, the shape of the beard that I want. So I have a little Sharpie pen here, but any kind of pen or marker will work. And just kind of sketch out if you want a pointier beard. Let's try a pointy one this time. Just kind of, get a rough idea of the shape that you want. Now, the important thing with this is to not cut from the front because you'll cut the fur and mess up the fluffiness. So you want to, as much as possible, just cut from the back and try and make sure you're just getting just the backing, which it's really hard on the first snip there. But kind of like work your scissor underneath the so that you're just cutting the backing and not the fur, because you'll lose that fluffy end bit. See how that's going. Yeah, see, I kept this, whereas if I cut straight across, he would have, like, you know, a weird bowl cut going on, which that would be a strange look for our gnome. So, almost there. I feel like I should keep up some running patter, but I only have so much to say about craft fur. Okay, so there is my little gnome. You can see we're losing some bits of fur there, but I mostly, well, on this side I kind of cut it to where you're missing some of that fluffiness. I'll go ahead and show you since I just have this scrap here. But if you cut straight across from the front, you get that weird blunt look on your fur, which is just not attractive for your gnome's beard. So that's why we want to cut from the back, which I mostly succeeded. So again, we're going to do the same thing that we did before with the nose and just kind of glue his beard right in there. I will say again, craft glue works if you have patience. Come here, little man. All right. I'm going to tuck it under his hat a little bit too. Okay. And then last but not least, ooh, his beard's a little long. He's a grandpa. He's got a long beard. All right. Last but not least, for a little bit of extra touch, just take some of his fur with your hands and kind of twist it up into a mustache. We'll give him a nice pointy one. Ooh, look at that. Very dapper. And there we have it. So you can see our two little friends are ready for an adventure. Okay, so we have two little gnomes ready for the holidays. Once again, you can use whatever materials you want to stuff them with. You can use craft pellets, which they sell at the store, but I think that's way more expensive than food products, so I went with the food. Again, this is what it looks like with a bean. It's a little squishier. I also didn't fill it up as much probably, but they just don't fall together quite as much as the rice does. And this is what it looks like with the rice, a little more firmness to it. So these are our two little gnomes off ready for their adventure. We hope you enjoyed this video and hope you are enjoying our craft kits, and we hope to see you next time. Until then, happy crafting.